Hi, vinyl community. Hi, hope you're all doing really well. I'm back for another video, and this is the video that I promised the other week, which is to show my best friend's vinyl collection. Okay. Um, there are a few caveats with this, though. So the story was basically that we went to the pub a few weeks ago, and he mentioned that that he'd got a locker with his records in. Now I remember his record collection, or remember parts of it, because um, for a number of reasons, when I sold my record collection in the mid 80s to fund CDs, which at the time had obviously just come out and were, as probably a lot of you remember, really expensive when they first came out. So there was no way that you could kind of do a like for like, and you'd have to sell several records, which at that time, by that period, weren't holding huge amounts of value. So I was just looking just to get as much money as I could together to fund at least an initial CD collection, albeit probably quite small. I think when I started, I probably ended about 4 or 5 titles, something like that. Anyway, so that's by the by. But anyway, so he bought some of my records off me, which obviously went into his collection. Just rock, standard rock, nothing rare or out of the ordinary. Quite a lot of kind of heavy rock or 80s rock that was popular then. So anyway, he just said, well, I've it's in this locker. He basically he keeps fireworks, so he's got a fireworks business, and he has to store fireworks in large metal containers for health and safety reasons. So I assume that one of these lockers, I don't know, I didn't go there, and obviously I'm not going to say the location. These records, his collection had been in a sort of faux mahogany sort of cabinet that he bought kind of in the early 90s. And I think after he moved the last time, they just kind of went into storage because he got rid of all his hi-fi. He didn't have a record deck anymore, so he got no way of playing them. So there they lay in this storage unit for he reckons about 10 years. So kind of when he told me this, and he said, well, would you be interested in them? And sort of part of me was thinking, yeah, I would be, but these have been in a kind of cold, dank sort of container, and they've been in there for 10 years, albeit, in this cabinet. So I guess that would have afforded some protection. I was a little bit concerned. But anyway, so we agreed. There was no money discussed or anything. I don't think he wanted any money for these whatsoever. He was just going to give them to me, and obviously I got no idea of what the condition was going to be like when I saw them. So we ended the evening, and he said, "Oh, I'll bring them over sort of midweek the following week," which is what he did. And so at the back of his car, we sort of handball this sort of large cabinet. The first thing I noticed was that the cabinet was covered in dust and mold. And I thought, yeah, that doesn't bode very well. So we put it in the garage. There was no way I was going to let it into the house, obviously, because it looked like it was just infested. So, but I noticed through the glass on the cabinet that the records were wedged in really, really tight. and they've been kept vertical. So I thought, well, that's something. And a lot of them seem to have PVC sleeves. Obviously, that can be good or bad, because if they're the old-fashioned sleeves, they tend to give off gases after a while, and then you get fogging and etc. etc. But yeah, but even then, they you know, it was difficult to tell at that stage what they're going to be like. The singles were kind of piled up, just sort of haphazard, and only a few of them had those little 7-inch sleeves on them, and they were in an absolutely shocking state, I have to say. So yeah. Anyway, so as it turned out, I think out of about, I think there was approximately about 70 albums, and I've managed to clean up and salvage 30, so less than half. The 7 inches, there was about probably 50, 60 singles. Those didn't fare so well. I've come away with only 7. And then there was, I think there was 4 12 inches, which all of those were sort of okay. So, but there was only 4 12 inches, 4 12-inch singles. So yeah, I ended up with about 40, just over 40 records out of something like about 120, 130 so collection. So yeah, it could have been a lot better, but also it could have been a lot worse. They could have just all gone. And I mean, 1 or 2 of them I've been generous with, and I've really made an effort to clean them, just because of the titles, really. That I wanted them, and wanted to make sure that they were as good as I could get them. But yeah, the ones that were just black mold were just destroyed. You know, they were damp. You know, and they just rotted the sleeves. The records were just, I think the mold was just so bad with the vinyl, reacted with the vinyl, that no amount of scrubbing or whatever could get rid of it. So anyway, so I set about cleaning them. Fortunately, the last few days we've had some really good weather here in the UK, so I managed to take them outside, sit outside after work in the evening, and just sort of air the sleeves. I've washed. Basically, I just put a microfiber cloth down on a flat surface, and just use rubbing alcohol, which I sprayed on in a fairly concentrated form. I did dilute it down a bit, but say the state of some of the records really needed it. I've read online that does destroy the mold, and it also acts as a deodorizer. So, and obviously, because being alcohol, it evaporates fairly quick, and I think as long as you don't use too much, it doesn't cause any kind of lasting damage. So anyway, so I've kind of systematically over the last week been just cleaning these records, letting them dry out, re-sleeving them. I've kept the outer sleeves where I can. Some of the inner sleeves had to go, but some of them I have, especially where they're printed inner sleeves, I managed to keep them. But everything has gone into brand new polyline inner sleeves once they've been cleaned. And yeah, the sort of final thing for me was just to give them about a 2 or 3 spin clean on the vacuum cleaner as well, on the record vacuum cleaner. So they're as clean as I can get them anyway. So anyway, so that's the background of it, just to give you some context. So I'll show the records. Okay, so the singles, these are mainly kind of metal and rock, because obviously that was what he was into, or a lot of us were into, kind of, 12, 13 years old. So there's a few nice ones here. So the first one is this. So this is Motorhead, and This is Motorhead by Motorhead. So this is live, recorded, I think, on that 1981 tour where they did the No Sleep Till Hammersmith. And that one's cleaned up really, really nicely. You can see there's a really nice shine on that. There's no evidence of mold, and they're still a little bit musty, but hell of a lot better than they were when I first brought them into the house. So yeah, so that's the first one. Okay, then we have a couple of Quo singles, because Dave was a big Quo fan. So this is a later one, I think, from Ain't Complaining album. This is Who Gets the Love. It looks a bit like Jane Russell on the front there, doesn't it? I don't know whether it is, but this is a later one from '88. That's one of the better ones. It's in really quite minty condition. That was one of the ones that was in a plastic sleeve, so that was spared the worst of the damp and the mold, I think. Another Quo one here. So this is a picture disc. This is Caroline, the live version that they did at the NEC, I think, for their 20th anniversary tour, which I think Dave went to, actually. Back at school. It's back with Dirty Water. Okay, this one's this one's Samson. So this is Losing My Grip. So, yeah, British new wave of heavy metal from the early 80s. I think this is 81, is it? 82. I think Bruce Dickinson was with this band, I think. And then went on to Maiden afterwards, I think. So around about that time. So yeah, a couple of nice Maiden singles here. Always nice with the artwork there. So we've got Run to the Hills. Back with, what's on the reverse of that? Total Eclipse. That's a nice one. Yeah, there was quite a few, like more Motorhead, AC/DC, there's all sorts, but as I say, they were just too badly gone to salvage, unfortunately. So Number of the Beast, that's a nice one. I remember I had the album of this. I think just about everybody in our year at school had this when it came out. I think it was a #1 album. It was pretty seismic when that arrived on the scene. So yeah, nice red vinyl there for the Number of the Beast, with Remember Tomorrow as a live track on the reverse. Couple more, another Quo one. So we've got Lies. Back with Don't Drive My Car, I think it was a double A side. I think I had a copy of this actually when it came out. Shop down the road used to sell singles in a kind of carousel. Used to pick them up. Okay, and then the last one is in Gillan, the Gillan Band, and that's Restless with On the Rocks on the B-side on Virgin. So yeah, all of those in pretty decent shape. Yeah, shame I couldn't have saved more, but nice to have. Okay, and then I'll show the 12 inches. So this is quite a nice one. This is the Power Station and Get It On. Let's cover up the boobies there. It's cartoon boobies, but yeah. So this was comes with a print inside. So this was John Taylor, Andy Taylor, and Robert Palmer. Sort of mini super group, if you like, kind of an offshoot. I think when Duran Duran were in a hiatus. Come with a print, and this is Get It On, so the cover of the Bolan song with a shorter version on the B-side, and Go to Zero. So yeah, that one survived in quite nice condition. Again, they're still a bit musty. Don't know what I can do to deodorize that further, but okay, this is a nice one. I always really liked Wah, or the Mighty Wah. So this is Pete Wiley, Liverpudlian artist, and this is Come Back. So yeah, I took it out of the sleeve because there was a bit of mold on the front, but the record itself cleaned up really nicely on Beggar's Banquet. Okay, this is a nice one. I always, not that I'm a huge R&B fan, but I did always like this one when it came out at the time. So this is Soul to Soul, and this is Back to Life. This is a club mix featuring Karen Wheeler. This one is a bit noisy. I think it's an ex-library copy. There was a few in there I noticed that were kind of deleted from the library. They sort of, back in the day, after a while, when they got a bit old, they kind of sold them off really cheap. Yeah, we used to buy them sometimes when they had sales. Okay, this is a really nice find. So this is Dave, happy 16th birthday from Gaynor. So I guess that was his girlfriend at the time. I'm trying to remember. I don't know whether I remember, it's such a long time ago. Yeah, so this is Public Image Limited. Really nice to get this because I didn't have any pill at all in the collection. So this is Not a Love Song. It was a decent hit for them. That's that plays nicely. That's come away pretty unscathed. So yeah, definitely one that you don't see very much of in the wild. Pill titles, or certainly I don't anyway. So that was a nice one. Okay, and then we're on to the LPs. So these are quite a mixed bag of sort of 80s rock, some 70s rock, bit of alternative as well, and a few punk titles. Okay, so I'll just whip through these fairly quickly. So I think this is a local band. I've got no idea who these guys are. I don't know whether this was maybe somebody who was a friend of a friend in a band at the time or something. These are a band called Slow Burner, and this is An Emotional Business. So I'm just trying to look at the names. Paul Bridgewater, Mike Bannister, Jace Roper, Tim Border. Don't know any of these guys, but the label itself was in Redditch, which isn't far from here, so they must be local. If anybody knows anything about them, it'd be interesting to hear in the comments below. So that's Slow Burner and Emotional Business. say I've not got around to playing that, so I'm not quite sure. Not quite sure what that is. Okay. Really nice copy of December, George Winston. This could have been my copy that I sold to him, I don't remember. I did have this on vinyl back in the day, so I've always loved this title. So I can tell by the label it's one of the really early ones. So I do have another copy of that, but that's nice to get back into the collection. Okay, bit of sort of corporate American rock here. Toto 4 on CBS from 1982. So you got the hits Rosanna and Africa. Yeah, not a huge fan of these really, but nice to have. Okay, another big heavy hitter, Bat Out of Hell, Meatloaf. So another one I've never owned with the original lyric sheet. Produced by Todd Rundgren. Yeah, huge album. I don't know, it was in the charts for 3 years or something ridiculous, wasn't it? So big, yeah, pomp rock there from Meatloaf. Another big stadium rocker band. Don't Look Back is Boston's second album. Yeah, yada yada. Nothing spectacular. Not as good as the debut, in my opinion. Okay, the blast from the 80s. So we got the Dan Reed Network, and this is Slam. So this was a rock band put together by Dan Reed and Nile Rodgers. It was produced by Nile Rodgers. So don't really remember too much about them particularly, but okay. Okay, this is one that I had a copy of back in the day. So this is Whitesnake and Saints and Sinners. This is 1982 on Liberty with the Inner, and this has the original and best version of Here I Go Again on. Never really liked the later 80s re-recording of that. Okay, and then this was, I think this was the follow-up. Not as good in my opinion. Don't really remember a lot about it. This is Slide It In. Whitesnake. Okay, bit of 70s rock. So this is 10cc and Deceptive Bends. This is the 80s repress, which you don't really see around that much. You always see the originals, which had a kind of lighter brown surround here. It's a non-gatefold. But they used to do a lot of these back in the day, these Mercury titles where they'd reissue them on this priceless label. This, yeah, so very musty indeed. So I do have a copy of this, but this is definitely nicer than mine, albeit that it's I think an 80s reissue. So Alice Cooper School's Out, the fold out desk. but obviously no panties on that Warner Brothers label. Yeah, and I quite like this album. It was like, I think it was Looney Tune, was it, on this? Yeah, and obviously the title track, which was kind of his big breakthrough, I guess. Always been partial to a bit of Alice Cooper. Still in the 70s, albeit this is a later issue. So we've got Band on the Run, McCartney, yada yada. Nice copy, no poster. Comes with an inner and lyrics. Nothing much to say about that. We all know that one. It's a classic. Okay, first Queen album I ever owned. This is a bit of a rough copy of Greatest Hits. It's many years since I've owned this on vinyl. As I said, I did buy this when it first came out. It's in reasonable condition. I think it's a little bit crackly. Did require quite a bit of cleaning, but nice to have. Quite a few comps here. So we've got ELO Greatest Hits from '79. So all their early hits up to Out of the Blue, I think, on Jet, of course, with the inner and lyrics. Yeah, so you got Living Thing, Evil Woman, Turn to Stone, Rockeria, Telephone Line, Mr. Blue Sky, Sweet Talking Woman, all the big hits. Always really like this cover. Nice to have back in the collection because it's just a really nice retrospective. So 10cc's Greatest Hits. This is in really, really nice condition. It cleaned up really well because it's got like a sort of high polish gloss cover, which was easy to clean. Hypnosis sleeve, is it? I think maybe. Yeah, Rubber Bullets, Donna, Silly Love, Life is a Minestrone, Wall Street Shuffle, Mandy Fly Me, Things We Do for Love, Not in Love. Yeah, not a bad song there from the Manchester Boys. Okay, so we've got, how are we doing for time on this? Ooh, 28 minutes. I'll try and speed up a bit. Back to Back, Status Quo. Yeah, there was quite a few Quo albums in this collection. Dave was a big Quo fan. Unfortunately, many didn't survive, but a few did. So yeah, this is the one, 83, was it Margarita Time? On this one, Old Rag Blues, I think, were the singles. Don't really remember a lot about that one. Quite a nice one here. This is Gary Newman and Telecon. So, what year is this? Is it 1980? Must be the one after Pleasure Principle. So, I don't know, maybe his second studio album. So I think the single was This Wreckage on this one. I have played this. It's a little bit crackly, a bit noisy. Reader's Digest compilation, Best of the Monkees. Yeah, they're like cheap as chips, aren't they? Monkees compilations, but always nice. Just theme from the Monkees, I'm a Believer, Girl on You Sometime, I'm Not Your Stepping Stone, Pleasant Valley Sunday, Daydream Believer, wonderful. Sunshine, 60s pop. Okay, definitely not really my taste, but quite a nice copy of this. So this is Erasure, and I think it's The Innocents, with a kind of silk screen kind of sleeve, spot gloss there. Comes with a limited edition print of the sleeve. That survived really well. With the lyrics. Again, that cleaned up nicely. What was the hit? Little Respect, was it? Yeah. Vince Clarke, Andy Bell. Not a huge fan of them, as I say, but nice to have, I guess. Okay, back to more Quo. So this is Spotlight on Status Quo. So this is, I guess, a budget double album of their early 70s, late 60s, early 70s stuff. So it's actually a double album on, I'm not sure what the label is. PRT is it, I think. I don't know, probably under license. So you've got Pictures of Matchstick Men, Ice in the Sun, Spicks and Specks, Down the Dust Pipe, In My Chair, Mean Girl, Ginny's Wailing. So yeah, Gurkhandoola probably up to what, 1970, 71, something like that. This is quite nice. I seem to remember having this back in the day. So this is a Reader's Digest 10 album box set, Swinging 60s. As Reader's Digest used to do these huge themed box sets back in the day. Quite nice presented. The colours are quite nice on it. Box is in really nice condition. So it comes with a booklet going through all the years, and there's a kind of the record, the usual thing, record for each year, with kind of top 10 number ones and top 10 hits from the respective years of the 60s, and obviously some information on all the artists. Yeah, nice to have. I don't know how often I'm going to play that. That was the box, not me, by the way. But yeah, again, nice condition. Not the sort of thing I would have ever probably bought for myself, but nice to have as a freebie. Okay, so a couple of really nice ones here. So we've got Talking Heads, True Stories. I didn't have this on vinyl, so this was nice to have. This is from 1986 with a hit, I think, Wildlife, I think. In nice condition. Cleaned up nicely, this one. The inner. Yeah, that's a really good VG++. That's in really nice condition. Pleased with that one. I'd already got this, but always nice to have another copy. So Talking Heads, Remain in Light, a 1980 release. This is a reissue, 80s reissue, which has got the inner lyric sheet and advert for all the mid-price records that came out on sort of Atlantic and the subsidiaries. And that's really nice condition. A little bit of crackle on play, but nothing major. Obviously the fantastic Once in a Lifetime on there. I've had a couple of copies of this. This is a nice first press of Don McLean's American Pie, 1971, his second album, and it came with the inner, which is something that I've never actually owned on the copies I've had. Don't always see. So that was quite nice. It's a little bit grubby, but you know, there was nothing that was really spotless in this collection, unfortunately. So, great to have. Another great comp. I definitely had this one. This could well have been my copy. I don't really remember. So Mott the Hoople Greatest Hits. So we got all the way from Memphis on Hollow Note Boogie, and for the Dudes, Born Late 58, Foxy Foxy, Golden Age of Rock and Roll, Ballad of Mott, Roll Away the Stone, and this has the single version of Roll Away the Stone, which was better than the version on the Hoople, I think, which was kind of, I think, recorded afterwards. But yeah, great to have. And then delighted to get this. This is I've owned this record so many times. I've now got about three or four copies of it on various different box sets and CDs and so on. So yeah, Soul Mining the this is a nice 80s original, 83 original. Fantastic record this, never get tired of listening to this. A little bit of, as you can see, some mold damage on the inside there. Sort of ink bleed, I think, as well. The glue, I think the glue, sometimes they get that browny kind of residue as the glue dries out. So great to have that. Okay, and these last few, really happy with. So lovely, clean 80s copy of Dark Side of the Moon. No posters, but yeah, just a really nice, clean copy. Pleased to get that. Okay, and then some punk titles that I was really delighted with. So we've got the Great Rock and Roll Swindle. So this is the single album version that came out after the film in 1980. On Virgin. And for me, it's better than the movie, the double album soundtrack, because you don't get it's just all the songs. So you don't get all the dialogue and sort of silly bits in between. So it's a kind of more concise album. Great illustration there on the front. A little bit tired, but yeah, I don't see this one too often. So yeah, really pleased to get that. And then another Pistols one. I think this is an interview album called Carry On Sex Pistols, Some Product. So I think this is an interview, the Chelsea Hotel with Sid Vicious, I think. I've never listened to it. I don't know an awful lot about it. Anybody else that can enlighten me, please let me know. But again, happy to get that. And then this one, really happy to get this because I've never owned this on any format. I've heard it dozens of times. My brother used to play this all the time when I was younger. And finally got a copy. So this is Nevermind the Bollocks, the one and only studio album. And I think, I'm not too sure, but I have looked at the matrix numbers, and I think this is a second press. So it's definitely 77 or early 78 because of the blue, sky blue Virgin. Obviously it's not a first press because it doesn't have the I think the original ones, the track listing was still being decided, so it was just blank on the back. And I think the first few copies had the single of Submission, which was omitted off it. But nevertheless, I mean, fantastic to get this, albeit that it's a little bit tired, a few creases, but the record itself cleaned up really well and just sounds just a blistering listen. It's many years since I've heard this album, and delighted to finally get a copy of that vintage copy of it, the play copy. So yeah, fantastic, really happy with that. Okay, and then this last one. Okay, so this is my old copy, or my original copy of Goodbye Yellow Brick Road that I got back from Dave. This is one that I sold to him and deeply regretted it for reasons that I'll explain. So I originally bought this album from the Discovery in Birmingham back in the probably early mid 80s. Probably about 84 or something like that. Certainly, obviously just before I started selling my records, or my first collection. I didn't sell them all, but I sold obviously a chunk of them to buy CDs, as I mentioned before. So, but I picked this up, and it's a UK first pressing of Yellow Brick Road, Trifold, yada yada. We all know the album. Translucent red vinyl. And yeah, just was happy with a copy. You know, it was a decent sounding copy. It was in good nick. It's a little bit crackly, more crackly now because it's another 30-40 years nearly since I owned it first time. And obviously it's had quite a bit of play wear. But then when I got it home, I looked in one of the pockets of the sleeves, and I couldn't believe it. I pulled this out. So this is a 1973 original Elton John program on tour with the Kiki D band, as you can see, with a signature of Elton's on the cover there. And on the front there, it actually says Monday, 17th of December 1973, Birmingham Town Hall. So kind of made official there. And I have no reason to doubt that the signatures in this are genuine. I've got just fabulous pictures of Elton in his heyday, Kiki D and the band there. There's the signatures, Nigel Olsson. And just the other members of Elton's band there, and Bernie Taupin. Just what a find to get this in a sleeve. You know, it started after I got this. It started me on a mission. Every time I bought records second hand, I always used to check the gatefolds and kind of shake them out, make sure there was nothing like this lurking within. I got another one which was a Caravan in the Lands of Grey and Pink that also had a program in there. And I remember Alan's Static Traveller showing a Pentangle album where there was a concert program in there as well. So you never know what you're going to find inside these old vintage records. You know, people just pop in and just forget about. They move house, sell the records, whatever, years down the line, they get passed on. And then people like me unwittingly bump into them many years later. So yeah, delighted to finally get that back. So Dave, I know you don't watch my videos, but thank you very much indeed. Really appreciate for all this. And yes, I will be sorting you something out for all these records. So and it was kind of hard work, and but a delight to go through as well. And you know, I think anybody who just offers you a record collection, you know, it's part of their past, part of its nostalgia, part of their youth, his childhood, you know, and it's quite a thing just to sort of give that up. And you know, I mean, he didn't care, you know, it's like, but even so, it was still very much appreciated. So yeah, I hope you enjoy that, guys. That's gone on 45 minutes. It's quite a long video. So thank you if you've stuck with it all this way. Hope you're having a good weekend here. Starting to just finally cool down a little bit again. But I'm not going to talk about the weather. I said in my last video I wasn't going to do that. So there you go. So anyway, guys, keep well, keep safe, keep spinning your records, enjoy music, and I will speak to you again very soon. Cheers, guys. Take care. Bye-bye.